If you want to optimize your website SEO and rank better in Google, but have little to no experience doing SEO optimization, I welcome you to the SEO Handbook for the recently graduated. So, Beetlejuice reference aside, I will tell you who this talk is for, what I'll be covering, and what can you expect to learn after this next probably half an hour or so. I'm doing this for graphic design students at Santa Fe College, but it will be useful for anyone who wants to optimize their SEO and probably have never done it before. Graphic design students at Santa Fe, on their last semester, they built a WordPress portfolio website for themselves. And they're amazing designers, and I've seen their websites, they're really cool. And I would hate if they didn't rank in the best possible way. So I hope these tips will help them. So all these examples will be about graphic design, about WordPress websites, and about Gainesville, Florida. But you can pretty much extrapolate them and use them for any kind of website, business, or location. Okay, so this is a list of everything I'll be covering. I will try to make this talk as short as possible, but at the same time being as comprehensive as I can. We will not have time to go deep into everything. I'll try to go deep into the more practical things you can actually do. But I will lead you in the right direction if you want to learn more of any of the other things. And if you've seen this talk already, or you just want to jump to some of this content, I will put some timestamps on the YouTube description so you can jump right ahead. As you can see on the left side, I'll start with some SEO basics, like the SEO theory. But then we'll go to the right side when we'll be seeing all the practical, actionable steps you can take to optimize your SEO, and I will teach you how to do them. To start, a little bit about me so you know why I'm explaining the things I'm explaining. I've been working in digital strategies for about 20 years now, and what I mostly do is the big picture strategy, like what is needed to accomplish my clients' goals through a mix of web, social media ads, digital advertisement, and so on. And a very important part of what I do is SEO optimization, because SEO is a very important part of any digital strategy. It's not only website related, like campaigns and everything ends up in a website or in a landing page or in something web that should be as optimized for search engines as you can. The big question, what is SEO? So before we start, we need to understand what is the goal of any search engine like Google. Their job is to show you what they think is the best result for what you are searching for. And those results, called organic results, because you don't pay to appear, show up like this. So we are pretty familiar with that. So what is SEO? SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and it's pretty much improving your site's visibility in organic search results for relevant keyword. And this is done through optimizing the quality and quantity of your website's content, through technical optimization and a series of other factors that I'll be covering here. For example, if I search for Santa Fe College graphic design, the first 3 organic, not paid, results are exactly what I'm looking for. So Google did a good job. But of course, this is an easy rank because there are not many Santa Fe colleges offering graphic design. But when you search for graphic design colleges or where to study graphic design in Florida, that's where the ranking battle begins. So when you use those keywords and you make that search, Google will crawl millions of websites and will make a decision in a fraction of a second to show the result they think is the most appropriate for the words you were looking for. So, will they rank the best college first? Not necessarily, since they cannot make that judgment. But they will do their best job through a series of decision-making algorithms where the content, design, and development of a website plays an increasingly important role. Let's talk about what can you expect to learn and to accomplish with all the SEO tactics we're going to see today. And the answer, as always, is it depends. SEO is only part of a digital strategy, and it really depends on how are you as a professional, the service you offer, to whom you're offering them. But my approach to this talk is, I know you're great designers, but are you easy to find great designers? So I don't want you to miss opportunities to get to your clients because your website was not optimized the best way you could. And the other important thing is you have to set your priorities. How do you want to rank? Where? For what keywords? For what target audience? So if you want to compete with big agencies that probably have been going around for a while, well, you will have to make bigger efforts and spend more time. If you just want to rank the best you can with whatever you have and you don't have time to create a blog or all these other things that could help your SEO, well, be open and be clear and be strategic about it and just go with the basic things I'm going to mention. That will get you a long way. What makes a website SEO friendly? Google has over 200 ranking factors on their algorithm to rank one website over the other one for a given search. Of course, we're not going to cover 200 ranking factors, but we're going to cover some of the most important ones and the ones you can take actionable steps right now, either if you're building your website or you already have a website and want to optimize it. And these factors are your content, the quality, the amount of content, if it's relevant to your target audience, the amount of keywords you use. Then we got all the technical aspects, if your website is well developed, if you're using the right meta titles and descriptions and tags in general, if your site gives the user a good mobile experience, if your website is fast, if you update your content often, and if it's secure. The good news, since you're working with WordPress, is that some of these things come out of the box on WordPress, or at least in most WordPress themes, or at least WordPress makes it easier for you to tweak these updates, and I will tell you how in the SEO for WordPress section. And also many of these things can be solved without much effort by using a good hosting company, and I will recommend the one I prefer at the end. So we briefly mentioned how Google ranks a website, as well as some of the factors you have to consider for your website to be SEO friendly. But we also have to consider, how do users search? And let me give you an example. You have your website and you choose to put this fancy description on the first page. I build groundbreaking visual constructs to boost your core competency. Nice, filled with buzzwords. This could convince someone that already is visiting your website that you're the right person for them. But from an SEO standpoint, probably that person will never reach your website because they will never use any of these words to search for your service. So you have to find that sweet spot between what you want to say and what the user is searching. Okay, so you're thinking SEO. I'll do my best effort to rank for the keyword graphic design. This would not be a good idea because graphic design is not a specific keyword. It's too general, it's too broad. People don't search for graphic design. They search for graphic design something. They could be searching for graphic design examples, ideas for inspiration. They could be searching for graphic design tutorials, graphic design schools, to hire a graphic designer. So, and just for the word graphic design, you will be competing with thousands or millions of websites that use that word a lot. And websites that are not your competitors, because once again, they will be talking about different things related to graphic design. So, what should you do? So you're a graphic designer. You have to think, what will users search when they want to search for something that I could be a good result? You want to work as a freelance designer. Then you want to rank for people looking for a freelance designer. Of course, there are thousands, if not millions, of freelance designers out there with a website. So what can you do? Of course, you should not try to rank for graphic design, better for graphic designer. Then you're already excluding some other search terms that are not related to you. But this is still too broad. So what happens if you say, okay, I'm a freelance graphic designer? That's more specific. That's way more related to you. I'm a freelance graphic designer for hire. Okay, more keywords. I'm a freelance graphic designer for hire in Gainesville. And if you want to go all the way, I'm a freelance graphic designer for hire in Gainesville, Florida. So what happened? You went to try to rank for a keyword that will be absolutely impossible for you to rank for, to a key phrase, because we got lots of words here, that you could actually rank for pretty fast, and that will be very specific, that probably users will use a phrase like this when they're searching for a freelance graphic designer in Gainesville. So this will give you a fighting chance to be on the first page of Google relatively easy if you do all the right things. This example takes me to my next topic, local SEO. You have to understand that Google search results are not the same for everyone, even if they're searching for the same keywords, because search results are highly personalized. I was mentioning these 200 factors Google use, and some of them are your previous search, the device you're using, if you're using a desktop or a smartphone, and your location. And when I mention location, I mean Google understands that if I'm looking to hire a graphic designer, I would probably prefer to see a result from a professional in my same city, or state at least, than from someone from other state or from other country. And that is what is called local SEO. In fact, Google is doing lots of campaigns promoting the search near me. So people are searching for graphic designer near me. And this is great news for you, because now you don't have to compete with other freelancers or other agencies in the world or in the US or even your state. You have to compete with freelancers, with agencies from your city or from a much narrower market. And this, like I told you, gives you a fighting chance to be even in the first page of Google relatively easy. But it's our job to make it very clear for Google to understand where we are from and where are we offering our services. So that's an important thing that I will be mentioning. And on a very related note, I will mention this in the tips and tricks at the end, the importance of creating a Google My Business account, because that plays a big part on this local SEO strategy. Okay, in a theory, let's start with your SEO strategy. So before we can do anything SEO related, you need to create this brief for yourself, or this mini brief. Let's start with, who are you? And that goes to the basic of your name. Because people, when they get to know you for any reason, you have a meeting with them or someone recommended you, they will Google your name. So your name should be prominent in your website. And right now you're fighting with lots of platforms, normally like social media platforms, that do a great job of ranking your name. But probably you want to rank your website before that. So you have to do a good job with putting your name out there as much as you can and the best way you can on your website. Then you have to define your goals. What do you want to do? You want to use this website to get hired, to be a full-time freelancer, to have this additional income? And what are you offering? It's just general graphic design? I don't recommend it. Try to go specific. Are you doing web design? Are you doing illustration? Are you doing logo, branding design? Then you have to choose, you have to know your target audience. Is your website meant for agencies to hire you? Are you going to be a freelancer and want to reach companies? And are these companies big companies, medium companies, small companies, startups? Where is your target audience located? Do you want to target Gainesville? Expand to other places like Ocala, Orlando, General Florida? You want to go to Georgia, that's up there? The broader you go, the harder it is to be specific. Remember that. Then you have to define your value proposition. That means, what do you offer? What sets you apart? I will share some links that can guide you in the right direction for creating your value proposition. Finally, you need to have a clear call to action. That needs to be very prominent everywhere in your website. What do you want your user to do on your website? Do you want them to contact you? And how? Is it your email, filling a form, calling you? And contacting you for what? To get a quote? To hire you? You have to be very clear with that. An important part of this process is to actually write everything down in this brief, because almost every word you will be describing will be a valuable keyword you will have to use on your strategy. And this will help you from an SEO standpoint, but it also will help you to communicate much better for the actual person that will be using your website. So let me give you an example. This is Lydia Ditz, and she made her brief. And thanks to that brief, he could put this content on her website. I'm Lydia Ditz, a freelance graphic designer in Gainesville, Florida. I help small and medium businesses create their brand identity. I focus on logo design, visual identity, and brand design. Look around. If you like what you see, you can hire me. So let's break this down. I'm Lydia Ditz. You just started by your name. Very important. You are not only a graphic designer, but you're a freelance graphic designer, and you're located and servicing Gainesville, Florida. And what your target audience are small and medium businesses, and what you do is create their brand identity. And you even go a little more specific, mentioning logo design, visual identity, brand design. You got more keywords there. Then the call to action. Hey, check my website. If you like what you see, there's a little personality going on there, you can hire me. That's what you're looking for. So if I'm a person that got to your website, I immediately know if you are the right fit for me. If I'm actually a small and medium business looking for a logo design and want to hire a freelance graphic designer, I will have absolutely no doubt that you are the person I'm looking for. Before you can start optimizing your website for SEO, you need to know where is your website standing. For that, there are many online website checkers that evaluate your website and give you some useful insight. I recommend these three. I use them a lot. One is Google's own PageSpeed Insights. The other one is one from Pingdom, and an SEO analyzer by Neil Patel. So let's see how we can apply those insights in your website evaluation. For this example, I went to a Web Award website. I went to the portfolio section and took one of their awarded websites. So it's supposed to be a good portfolio website. And I ran it through these different website checkers. So this is PageSpeed Insight from Google. I already ran, but you pretty much have to put your domain name and press analyze. And what I like about this is they show you it separates the mobile experience from the desktop experience. It's usually easier to rank better for desktop because the mobile experience is much more limited. But at the same time, when you design your website, you design it on your desktop computer. So it's easier for you to mainly focus on desktop and leave mobile a little behind. So don't do that. Be careful. Always check your mobile experience. So what I like about these insights is that they actually give you insights. They'll tell you exactly what is going wrong. For example, here they're telling you that image size. So this website has lots of images and you could optimize them and you have this potential saving. You have to remove some JavaScript. You have to... Some of these things are very technical, but if you want to know more, the good thing is there's always a Learn More button somewhere here. And you can click it and see how you can improve each of these recommendations. And once again, it's separated from different recommendations for mobile and desktop. And then there's this other website, the Pingdom website speed test. This is very simple, but it gives you a very accurate idea. For example, here, this website, the page size is 25.6 megs. That's a lot. Like having 1 meg, it's a lot. 25, I haven't seen that much weight in a website in a long time. So similar to the other website, here you can check what is affecting your website the most. Each of these checkers rank things a little different and put this like red, orange, green. But this is very helpful. This tells you like your content size by content type. So in this case, images are the heaviest part of this website and they represent 94% of the website's full weight. So that's something you have to check. So these two websites are an example of how you can check your technical SEO, like weight, speed, those kind of things. Then we have this website, that's the SEO Analyzer by Neil Patel. And this website's concern is giving you insights related to SEO. So they also have their own rankings, and you can see a series of recommendations and warnings. And similar to the other ones, you can click on them. For example, here I can go into the critical errors and go very specific. Well, you can pay for a premium version of this service, but you get 3 tries each day for free. So you can take advantage of that. And here, for example, it tells me the critical errors. There are 10 pages with low word count. And low word count means that the fewer words you have, the harder it is to rank for keywords. So, and they tell you specifically which pages and the word count it has. Duplicate pages, pages with duplicate title tags, and then you can go to warnings, to recommendations. And then on each one, you can click and see what they're recommending, and you can go from there. In my case, for my website, I literally went like going through each one of these insights and trying to correct every error. I'm very proud that my website at this moment is 94% on mobile and not 100, but 99% on desktop. And that was pretty much doing that, like optimizing every little thing, every recommendation that I was given through these websites. So these 3 free tools are a great way to evaluate your website and see what you have to work on in order to improve your SEO. Before we start creating content to optimize our website SEO, we need to do a little keyword research. There are many different ways and different recommendations on how to do it. I will focus now on the fact that these are personal portfolio websites, but most of these recommendations can work for anyone. So, the first thing is Google yourself. I bet you already do, but you have to think, what will happen if someone knows about you? They say, hey, I will Google this person to check their website, to learn a little more about them. You should know what search results are appearing when they Google you. So, is there any other person with a similar name? Normally, you will rank for your social media platforms. Just know where your name is standing as a search result. Then let's check our brief. I talked that you had to make this brief, write everything down. That brief will be filled with keywords. Then common sense, of course. Start making a list of all the keywords you think, by your experience, will be useful for your website. So your services, your location, anything related to that. Then we have LSI words. These stand for latent semantic indexing, but it means contextually related terms that Google expect to be mentioned along with the main keyword. For example, you're talking about that you offer web design services. Google assumes that if you're talking about web design services, you need to have other words in your content like user experience, mobile friendly, SEO, wireframe, mockups, developing, coding, hosting servers, page speed, etc. There are lots of words that Google will say, hey, if this person is talking about a web design service and is mentioning all these other words that I know are related to web design, well, this is a quality content. So think about those kind of words. A very useful tool to finding keywords is using Google search results, especially the questions and the similar search results. So for example, let's go and type hire a freelance graphic designer. I recommend having your notepad here, and you will get a series of search results, but you can focus in here. What are people asking? People that want to hire a freelance graphic designers want to know how much they charge, how much does it cost, how do I hire? Well, let's copy these questions and paste them here. Keep scrolling. More questions. This is very valuable. This is exactly the type of questions people use when searching. So this is the question part. And then we have the related search. And here you will get other keywords that users use when searching for these terms. So you will get things like salary, design website, jobs. Sometimes many of these keywords will not be related to what you want, but it's a good starting point to start adding more. For example, here's the word portfolio. Hey, maybe I didn't want portfolio. And then you can go more specific. For example, think what the user will search. Let's see, need a web designer in Florida. Yeah. People ask very similar questions. And the good thing is with these related searches, you can click on them and keep going from there on. For example, okay, website designer. Let's click on that. Let's see what are the related searches to website designer. Software, not really related. Near me. How to find a website designer. This looks like a good question. It's a question that you will like to rank for. So let's click on that. Once again, go down. I need a web designer, freelance, hire, near me, professional. So for example, just by using these keywords, you could have a content that says, hey, if you need a professional freelance web designer, you can hire me. You're covering all these keywords related to that search just on that phrase. So that's just a very short example of how you can use this to create content that will rank for these keywords. And of course, then take your time to analyze all these questions. Try that your content mention these words. Then we have the next tip is using Ubersuggest. That's another services from Neil Patel. And here, instead of checking your website, you check keywords. And then, for example, I here check the keyword freelance web designer in United States. You can know how much this word is searched for, if it's difficult to rank in SEO. But the most useful part are all the keywords ideas you have here. For example, you got suggestions, freelance web designer, web design, salary for hire, near me, developer. You should probably mention the web developer if you're offering web design services. Then this is just another exercise to get more valuable keywords. The next thing you should do is start saying, okay, so what are the results when I search for the keywords I want to appear for? For example, freelance web designer in Gainesville. Of course, you will get lots of these sites like Upwork and websites that are not actually your competitors, but the user will probably skip those and just try to find a person. Actual freelance graphic designers start appearing here in the second page. Priscilla Chapman and Nathan Corin. And if you're not getting good results, another example is just go and search for the same terms but somewhere else. For example, freelance web designer in Columbus, Ohio. Let's go for Columbus, Ohio. So these people will not be your competitors, your direct competitors. But you can check, for example, Brett Hoffman, Adam Bates, Ben Albo. Just for some reason, these people are ranking on the first page. So check those websites, see what they do. For example, here this person mentions lots of keywords: freelance web designer and front-end developer in Columbus, Ohio. It's making it very clear. Adam Bates, I'm a freelance web designer and developer. Hey, I'm available. Full-time freelance web developer since, so he's showing his experience. He's making it clear that he works with WordPress and WooCommerce, and he does development and teaching and support. So these are other ways to find what keywords are and what type of content is being well ranked by Google on your location and on any other location. And the more you do it, the more you will find interesting keywords to rank for. You already started planning your strategy. You did an evaluation of your website, and now you know all the keywords you want to rank for. You need to start creating the content. So the steps to do that is first create a sitemap. I think you all know what a sitemap is, but it's basically the structure of your website. But by doing so, you need to start planning how many pages you need for everything. And that's pretty much up to your strategy. For example, you could have just one page describing all your services. Or you can have one page for each service. For example, logo design would be one page and web design a different page. The more pages you have, the better, because you will have more space to have titles and descriptions, and so the more pages, the more content you have, that will really help you rank for SEO. And the same goes to your portfolio websites, just one page, or you want to have one page for each of your projects. And if you want to go like in content creation, if that's part of your strategy, well, will I do a blog? Will I do a tip section or anything that will add more content? All that should be defined on your sitemap. Then we need to start writing your content. And so what are the considerations for writing your content? The more words, the better. But remember, quality over quantity. If you're offering a web designer service and you say something like, I'm a web designer who does web design for clients that need web design from a web designer, yeah, you're using the keywords like 4 times, but that's not a natural way, and Google sees through that. So although you need to use keywords and the LSI words, like related words, they should flow naturally. So use them a lot, but in a way that doesn't interfere also with the user experience. On each page, titles, and I mean meta titles, and descriptions are very important. And we need to make a distinction. The meta title is not the same as the content title, like the header of your page. The meta title and the meta description are this, like we've seen before. This is how your search result shows. The blue title is the meta title, and the text below is the meta description. The meta title is also what appears on the browser's tab. So those are the places you see it. You don't see it on the actual content of the website. So those are very important, like we mentioned before. Which keywords are you using? Are you using your location? Are you mentioning your freelance for hire? You're in Gainesville? You really have to think about all that. Then, having lots of content is a good thing, but you should really worry about the first paragraph. And in that first paragraph, the first 100 words. So those first 100 words should describe your main keywords and your related keywords, like the LSI keywords we mentioned. We've mentioned we need to use lots of content, but if you just put like these very long paragraphs, people would not read them. So break the content. Small paragraphs, use subheaders. Subheaders are great because you have your title and then you have your subheaders, and it's easier for Google to say, okay, so this person is talking about web design, and in this subheader he's talking about a specific aspect of web design, for example, the mockup development, and under that he has a paragraph with related keywords, and then this person has another subheader talking about the development, the coding, and has all these keywords related to that. That makes it easier to read, for a person to read, and for Google to say, okay, this person is very, very structured and has a good hierarchy of content. Image optimization is probably the most common factor that makes your website heavier, because images add a lot of weight to a website. But the good news is that it's one of the factors that is easier to fix. Your images should be as small and as optimized as possible, because any additional size will increase the size weight for nothing, just because it's poorly optimized. So to start, we should go to our website and check what is the correct size for my images. To do that, I recommend doing this. Open your website. I'm using Chrome. Go to Inspect, and it will open this window here. Yeah, but the good thing is here you can check the code of your website. So whatever you click Inspect, they will show you that code. Now, before we deal into the code, you have to know that most websites, if a website is well done, it should be responsive. That means that it needs to change depending on the window width. You see, this is adapting. So I can have an image with a fixed width and height, because I need for it to be adaptive. But there's a limit to it. For example, my website will never go wider than 1200 pixels. So if I move it, for this moment on, this image will not increase its size anymore. So this is the biggest size this image needs to be. So to know this size, I click on top of the image, inspect, and I go here and it tells me this image is 384 by 425. So that is the size I need my image to be. When I did this image, it was originally 500 by 555 pixels, and I had it in PNG. As you can see here, this image in PNG is 260 Ks. That's a lot for an image this size. And everything over the 384 we just saw is just unnecessary weight. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make this image smaller. I made it 384 by 425. And since my image didn't have transparency or anything like that, I turned it into a JPEG. To optimize my image, I open it in Photoshop, and this is a PNG image. So I will save it as JPEG. That's a much more compressed format. And I will make the size smaller. So the easiest way to do that is going to export, save for web. And here you can choose, I want to save it as a JPEG. And here you can see how the size is becoming smaller. Here I want to have it on 384. And the quality 40 is around fine. You can compare and see if it's losing too much. You must never forget that your image should look good. So don't compress it until it doesn't look good. But here you can start moving and seeing how much will it decrease in size. So okay, I'm fine with this. I press save and I save that image. Turning my image into an optimized JPEG could do the work just fine. But if you want to go the extra mile, there's another web format that is called the WebP. And at the moment, for me, the easiest way to create an image in WebP is just going to Google and Googling JPEG to WebP. And probably the first result will be just perfect. So on this website, I can just drag my image, tell them yes, I want it to be a WebP, and convert. Here we have a comparison of how I started with an image that was PNG, was bigger than necessary, not much, but bigger, and it weighed 260K. Then I optimized it to JPEG, and it went down to 25K. And then I passed it to a WebP, and it went to 17K. So you see there's not much difference between JPEG and WebP, but it adds up. So if you really want to make your website lighter, you can do that. And the other good thing about WebP is it allows transparency. So if you have a PNG that needs to keep the transparency, something that JPEG doesn't do, then WebP is definitely your option. Now I will talk about the importance of the actual design of your website for SEO. Because so far we've mentioned that a website should be fast, should be light, and should have lots of content. So you might think, well, I could have just a white background with Times New Roman text and lots of content. That would be technically and content-wise a good SEO website. That's true, but at the same time it's not, because your website's design is a key element of the user experience. It takes just a couple of seconds for a user to decide if they want to stay on your website once they arrive after a search, or they just want to leave. And that user experience is something Google values very much. So, for example, your website is very fast, you have lots of content, so Google start ranking it well. But someone search for a keyword, they get your search results, they click on your website, they enter your website, they stay for a couple of seconds, the website design-wise is a mess, they go back to search results and go to the next website. If that starts happening a lot, Google will see, well, I thought this was a good website because it was fast and it had good content, but the users are entering the website and leaving right away. So bad user experience, they will start lowering your ranking. But on the other side, if Google ranks you and he sees that users click on the search result, go into your website, stay there, and start visiting other pages and, for example, contact you, they will track this and they'll say, well, this is a quality website. So users are responding to it. You will start ranking each time better. For example, I've seen websites that rank very poorly in technical SEO, don't have lots of content, but are a very well-designed website and they rank very well. So remember, SEO is a mix of everything, and the graphic design of your website is a very important part of it. Now we will see how we can optimize SEO using WordPress. Most WordPress themes and the WordPress builder itself out of the box do a decent job, a decent SEO job, especially if you add a good SEO plugin. But you still have to do the job. These tools allow you, make it easier for you to add all these different things I'm going to mention, but you have to do it, and you have to be aware of when and how to do it. And now we will dive into some of these examples. This is the fake WordPress website for our designer Lydia Dietz that I want to use as an example. Remember, you will be using different website themes. I know many of you are using Elementor. That's very similar to Divi and other builders that change a lot how your WordPress backend looks. So it could look different. It could have different menus here, but the basics is here. I'm going to the plugins section. So these are some of the plugins I recommend. For SEO, it's mainly, of course, Yoast SEO. WordPress Fastest Cache is a very good plugin to cache your website and make it load faster the second time a user comes to your website. So I recommend that. And Updraft Plus is pretty much to do backup. So whenever you're going to do a big change in your website, you can go here and just make a backup of your website in case you, mess anything up. You can go to a previous version. Before we go into the plugins, let's go to tweak some settings that will get you a long way. Go to the settings section. If it's not already set up that way, I recommend going to post name. That way, whatever your title, the title of your page or blog or portfolio section, it will be turned into the URL, and that's very SEO friendly. So save that. And then we go to General. And here you have your site title. This is very important because you usually put, for example, here, Lydia put her name. And this site title will always appear on the meta title of each page. But usually it will have the name of the page, then a slash or a dash or something, and this name. So it's very important to do this. If you didn't put your name here, we already covered that the name is a very important thing for a personal portfolio website. So it's good enough. But in this case, we could do a little more. And let's put freelance graphic. So now on every page of your website, it will have these words on your title. Lydia Dietz, freelance graphic designer. Save changes. Now we will make some updates on a content page and a portfolio page. So now we're going to go to the About Me page. Okay, so you created this page because you want to have a section on the menu, like on our sitemap. We decided we will have a About Me page, and it's okay that you get something like About Me on the menu because it's a very used menu item. But you don't want this kind of name on your page because the page title, the header here, is very important for SEO. So once again, now we go with our name, Lydia Ditz. And you can also go graphic designer. And you update. Now let's check the Yoast SEO plugin. The Yoast SEO plugin allows you to see how this page would look if it appeared on a page result. So here you got Lydia Ditz graphic designer, Lydia Ditz freelance graphic designer. It's a little repetitive here. This is what we just did when we changed the name on the general settings. So in this case, we can make an exception and just go for Lydia Ditz. But here you see you don't have a meta description. Please provide a meta description. And you put that here. So we did like this value proposition content that will be on the first page. We can adapt that. I already did. And I put a content like this. I didn't repeat my name or Lydia's name because it's already on the title. But I put a description that has many keywords I think someone looking for this type of designer would use. So it's not freelance graphic designer, it's professional freelance graphic designer in Gainesville, Florida, offering graphic design services, including logo design, brand identity, visual identity, poster design, stationery design, and print design. You can feel this is very repetitive, but it works. And also this content doesn't appear on your page, like on the content of your page, just as a search result. So I recommend in this section putting all the keywords you can. And we update. And the last thing you have to check is the slug, that is also called the permalink. So at the beginning, we call this page About Me. And when you create a page on WordPress, it immediately creates a permalink based on that title you chose the first time. So here you can see it as a slug, but also here you can see it as a permalink. So you can change it whatever you want. It still says About Me, so you can change that to Lydia, always lowercase, no space, freelance. Okay, so we just covered different important things in your page for SEO. The heading here, the meta title, the meta description, and the permalink. Now let's go to do similar changes on a portfolio page. In this case, I have them on posts. Let's go to Maitland Hardware. So you did the branding design for Maitland Hardware. Similar recommendations. Try to use important keywords on your heading. So here we can change, instead of Maitland Hardware, branding. Branding design. And you see that right now it will adapt our title and turn it into the meta title. So Maitland Hardware Branding Design, Lydia Ditz Freelance Graphic Designer. Without much effort, you have a great meta title. Similar here, the slug, we need to change it to include the word branding design. And in the description, we could go branding design for Maitland hardware. But that's pretty much the same as the title. So we need to start adding additional keywords. So let's go for professional branding design for Maitland hardware store in Winter River, Connecticut. So you're adding a location if someone search for those keywords, and then you can add extra service you did, like including logo design, visual, and you explain that letterhead, business card, and envelopes, and fix your typo in including logo design. So now once again we have a good description full of keywords on the slug or the permalink, keywords on the meta title. There. And then we update, and then we have to check the alt text for images. So that, what I recommend, especially if you're already done with your website, just go to the media section. Here you will have every image you have already used in your website. In this case, I only have one. And you can go from here. You don't need to go to the page where the image is, and you add the alternative text, the alt text. This text is supposed to be a description for whenever your image is not seen, but it also adds SEO relevance. So the idea is to describe this image. So in this case, it's logo design for Maitland hardware. So you're describing it, yet at the same time using keywords to describe it. And there's no saving, you just close, and that's already done. And the last thing we will do here in WordPress is the sitemap. I will explain later that I recommend that you create a Google Analytics account and a Google Search Console account. I will not teach you that here. I will guide you in the right direction once again so you can see how you do it. But on the Google Search Console, you need to add a sitemap. And that you can do that here. You go to Yoast SEO, in features, here it says XML sitemap. You click on the question mark. It's very hidden. I don't know why they do it that way. And here you see the HTML sitemap. And this over here give you a description of where your sitemap is. This information you copy and you paste it on your Google Search Console. So just to show you, this is my Google Search Console. Here you go to sitemaps and you add the missing URL here. So in my case, I already have one. It's just called sitemap. So it's matthiasravy.com/sitemaps. And that's a description of every page on my website so Google can index it better. So by setting up your WordPress this way, using these plugins and taking control of the meta titles and description, you will make your website much more SEO friendly. And I will end offering you tips, tricks, and free tools. I will not go deep into any of those, but if you go into a description, I will send links to either tutorials or the pages for each one of those, so you can search a little more. But things you definitely need to do: create a Google Analytics account and a Google Search Console account. They are free and they're great ways to tracking like how your website is doing, performing, and if there's any problem related to that. Then you will need a fast hosting. You could have a great website, but if it's in the cheapest hosting you find around, it will probably be slow. I personally recommend a hosting called SiteGround. I work with many different hostings, and I like SiteGround because it's fast. If you check online studies for different hosts, they will all have in common that SiteGround is either the fastest or like in the top 3 at least. It's recommended by WordPress. So if you go into a WordPress website, they recommend 3 hosting, and SiteGround is one of them. And out of the box, it comes with things like secure socket layer and CDN and other different like caching things that will make your site faster. And they also have this killer WordPress plugin just for their hosting that works really well. So really recommend it. Then, keywords in your domain. This is a topic that's for debate, and it's up to you, but having keywords in your domain can help for SEO. For example, Lydia Deeds could choose to have lydiadeeds.com as her domain name, and that's fine. That's very important because it's her name. But what if he uses the domain lydiadeedsdesigner.com or graphicdesigner.com or webdesigner.com or freelancedesigner.com? It's adding more valuable keywords in a place that is very valuable for Google, that it's the domain name. So think about that when choosing a domain name. Like I mentioned before, constantly check your mobile version. It's very easy to forget about it since we're designing on our desktop usually. Everything looks fine there. Search, use your own mobile phone, use mobile phone experience simulators. Chrome has a very good one. Google My Business, you probably all known. You've seen it when you do a search result. You get this like location places from Google. Those are called Google My Business. It's a free service. If you don't create one for your company, someone else can create one for your company. So it's better to do that yourself. And they help, each time they help more to rank for local SEO. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I don't have a physical agency. I don't have an office. I don't want to receive clients in my house. I don't want to put my address. Well, I will share a link because Google My Business lets you not have like a physical address, like don't publish your address, but mentions with which areas you're serving. So if you're serving Gainesville, you could put a couple of zip codes and they will know, okay, so this person is over there. And when someone looks for a graphic designer and they are in this area, this will help you rank in those search results. Then backlinks. Backlinks means other websites linking to your website. And that's a very important ranking factor for Google. If other websites start linking content to your website, that means that your website has quality content. And when a website that is linking back to your website is by itself well ranked by Google, well, that's even better for you. So you can do this by having quality content. So the more quality content you have, the easier it will be to people to link back to your website. But you should also do, if you have quality content, you should do like an offline effort and contact this website and say, hey, I got this content. Do you want to like mention it in some of your blog posts? Or there's a different way to search for places to get backlinks. So once again, I shared some links to get more information about that. Links to and from your social networks. That is a very vital part for Google to know that you're actually active. So link to at least your LinkedIn, back and forth. So have a link from your website to your LinkedIn, and in your LinkedIn have a link to your website, and do that with your Behance, and do that with your Dribble, and whatever social media platform or website will help you look more professional and at the same time create this traffic back and forth. Answering questions. I mentioned this when you were doing your keyword research. Google is ranking very well content that answers questions because people are using Google to ask for questions. How to hire a graphic designer, and your content explains, is written in a way that it answers the question. You will rank better and you will rank faster. Then Google yourself constantly, because there's so many other websites that could end up showing a result for your name before you, and you should be on top of that. And if you're interested in SEO, keep learning. I will once again share some very useful YouTube accounts and blogs from people and organizations that talk about SEO and give tips, and you could be like very updated with that. Well, this is it. I hope this was helpful for you, and it will help you rank better. Any questions you have related to that, please contact me through my website or LinkedIn or Google me. If you find my search result, I did a good job. So enjoy your SEO optimization.